So while the president was in Vietnam, his former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, has been testifying before Congress.
Cohen accused the president of lying, of being a racist, and breaking the law. Trump fired back at Cohen during his news conference in Hanoi, calling yesterday's testimony a fake hearing.
Having it in the middle of this very important summit is really a terrible thing. He lied a lot, but it was very interesting because he didn't lie about one thing. He said no collusion with the Russian hoax. And I said, I wonder why he didn't just lie about that, too, like he did about everything else.
So joining us now on this fake hearing is CBS News Washington correspondent Paula Reid. All right, Paula, so the entire country was pretty much riveted to their screens yesterday, whether they were watching them on devices like CBSN or on television screens. What stood out to you from Cohen's testimony?
Just the volume of alleged misconduct. While nothing Cohen says can be taken as fact of any alleged crime, he's given House Democrats a roadmap of how to investigate the president. He has alleged a conspiracy to cover up campaign violations while he was here in the White House. He also alleges the president may have lied to the special counsel about his advanced knowledge of WikiLeaks email dumps and the Trump Tower meeting. He also claimed the president has engaged in tax fraud and insurance fraud, even fraud related to his charitable foundation. So now House Democrats can use their subpoena power to pursue these leads. We also know that federal prosecutors are pursuing some of these issues as well.
So we know we have the Mueller investigation and we have the Southern District of New York investigating various things. We heard from Cohen about another investigation based out of the Southern District that we didn't know anything about. In what areas should the president be the most concerned, though? Or maybe he shouldn't. Maybe everything we heard is really, really interesting, but when it comes down to it, you know, is not going to be a legal problem for the president.
No, the president should have concerns about some of the things that Cohen raised. None of them are facts, of course, on their face. They must be investigated. There must be corroborating evidence. But the biggest concern for the president should be what's going on in Manhattan. This is separate from the special counsel's investigation into Russian meddling. The Southern District of New York, they are looking into possible campaign finance violations by the president. Cohen said that the last time he spoke with the president was shortly after his apartment and hotel was raided by the FBI, but he said he couldn't reveal the details of that conversation because it was currently part of an ongoing investigation in Manhattan. He also disclosed there are more things we don't even know about related to the president. Previously undisclosed alleged criminal conduct, also under investigation in Manhattan. So that is a probe that is broadening, and based on the number of witnesses they have, AMI, the publisher of the National Enquirer, Michael Cohen, the president's friend, David Pecker, all these people have pleaded guilty and are providing evidence. That should be a big concern to the president.
So, Paula, for over the last couple of days, we've been talking about what's provable, what Michael Cohen brought to the table that could be investigated because he had elements of proof. And yesterday, we saw those checks. And I'm curious, putting on your lawyer hat, if you were a lawyer and you were a member of Congress, would you want to talk to Alan Weiselberger? He's the longtime chief financial officer of the Trump Foundation. His name was on one of those checks. Now, this guy goes back to Fred Trump, right?
Yes.
Fred Trump Sr., Donald Trump's father, President Trump's father. Also, Donald Jr., his name appeared on one of those checks. Does that look like a lead to you?
It does. I'd want to know why they signed these checks. But the bigger legal issue is whether or not the president, as Cohen testified, directed a conspiracy to conceal these hush money payments so as to help himself in the election, and then tried to cover it up in terms of the way that he cut these checks to Cohen even while he was here in the Oval Office. You'd want to know if Donald Trump Jr. knew about that or if Weiselberger knew about that. Cohen inferred that Donald Trump Jr. may not have been in on the entire conspiracy, but a lot of questions for the president. I also have a question for Cohen, though. He says he received 11 checks. He presented 2. I asked his attorney, where are the other 9 checks? They said they're still looking for them. Something about that, though, does raise a little bit of a concern. Again, my lawyer brain, where are those other 9 checks? I think it's pretty easy for me or you to find checks in the past couple of years in our bank account. So I think we need to wait to see all the evidence.
Well, as a journalist, I would just, say, look, Michael Cohen on the stands and in his statement said that the president FedExed him those checks. It's really easy to call FedEx. It should be easy to trace. Trace, exactly right.
It should be easy to trace. But, we heard what a lot of Republicans had to say to Michael Cohen, and they pointed out not just the various ways that he has lied to them But independent of his relationship with the president, why he's in trouble with the Southern District is because of lies that had nothing to do with his association with the president and being pressured by the president. I mean, they really pointed out, I think, a lot of sort of moral missteps that he has made. Is that something that we should be concerned about?
I think the Republicans were coordinated, it appeared, in their effort to undermine Cohen's credibility. I do think that most people would walk away from that hearing arguing that, yes, Michael Cohen has credibility problems. He's lied to Congress. He's been convicted of that. He's admitted to it. He's admitted to lying to banks, to the government in those other crimes in the Southern District. This is a man who has had trouble being completely honest. He made a career out of lying for Donald Trump. But Republicans were so focused on his credibility, they didn't really do a great job of attacking the substance of his claims. So I think a lot of people would walk away with the impression saying, all right, I don't believe everything Cohen says. I won't take it as fact, but there's some smoke here and I want to know more.
Yeah, you know, Paula, before we let you go, I mean, that was what was glaringly obvious to me. I understand that you want to point out to the American people that Michael Cohen is a liar, but he repeatedly admitted that he had lied and that he was here to try and make some kind of, raise some kind of level of redemption. But without at all asking him, not one single Republican asking him about the claims that he was making, I thought that that looked to the American people as problematic. But we'll see how it plays out.
I thought it was a situation where, once again, depending on where who you support, you probably are still dug in. You know, I don't know if Michael Cohen changed any minds at all.
You know, the president, in speaking about it yesterday, seemed to indicate that Michael Cohen did not say that there was any collusion.
Paula, they want to wrap us, but can we clarify that? Because the president this morning said, you know, there's one thing that he said, that there was no collusion. That, as I heard it, is not what Michael Cohen said.
Well, Michael Cohen said he had his suspicions about possible coordination between Russia and the Trump campaign. He described the high number of contacts at the highest levels as odd, but he said he didn't have any evidence of conspiracy or cooperation. So that's what the president sort of seized on. And of course, the president believed him there, but said everything else was a lie.
Right, that was really interesting.
I do think that is significant that he could not definitively say, yes, I believe there was a conspiracy, because given his position in the campaign, if he didn't believe there was a formal conspiracy, he didn't have any evidence of that, who would?
All right. Paula, thank you very much.